Hi, Commissioner McKinley.
We're not able to hear you, Commissioner McKinley.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Sorry, I'm late. I had technical problems on my end here. Are we ready to start?
Yes.
Okay. I call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Could we call the roll, please?
Commissioner Augustine is absent excused. Commissioner Griggs is absent excused. Commissioner Heller.
Here.
Commissioner Kopcho.
I am present.
Commissioner Levin.
Here.
Commissioner McKinley.
Here.
Commissioner Pollock is absent excused, and Commissioner Slater.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. I don't believe we have any.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner McKinley. We do need to figure out who's going to be vice president for the evening.
Who would like to be vice president? Do I have a nomination, please?
I nominate Heller.
One at a time. Heller? Commissioner Heller?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Awesome. Great. All right. So Commissioner Heller will be vice president for tonight. Public comment. I don't believe we have any. Let's go to consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
Yes, this is Commissioner Levin. I have reviewed the draft minutes of the July 20th, 2021 meeting and approve of their current form. Recommend approval enter the record.
Second.
Okay, with second Kopcho, right?
Slater said his name first. He didn't.
That's all right. You go ahead.
We're very congenial. Okay.
Very. Commissioner Slater, second. Could we have the roll call, please?
Are there any questions or comments on the motion? No hands?
None.
Okay, I will call the roll. Commissioner Heller. Commissioner Heller, a motion or a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from July 20th.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Kopcho,
Aye.
Commissioner Levin,
Aye.
Commissioner McKinley,
Aye.
Commissioner Slater,
Aye.
and Augustine and Griggs and Pollock are absent.
Great. Okay, so public hearing. Let me look at my script here. Sorry. Oh. There it is. Public hearing. Okay. Do we have to still do the note for the record thing? Are we still doing that? I forget.
So we ask if anyone has ex parte communications or any conflicts of interest to state into the record.
Great. Does anyone have any ex parte conflicts of interest? Please state so now.
I do.
Okay,
I have
good.
not an ex parte, but a conflict of interest. This is Commissioner Levin. I will be participating in conversation and listening, but I forget. I think it's abstaining from voting because I have a conflict with the application. We reside in the neighborhood close to the development. And then I also want to just state, while I normally have my video feed on during any hearing, as you can see, I've got daddy duty this evening. So I'm actually going to leave my video off and stay muted for most of the time, just in case there's any background outbursts.
Great. Thank you for that. No problem. I have a hand raised. Is there a question from the participants here?
That's me,
Oh.
Tom Kapani with the City Attorney's Office. So my understanding is that Commissioner Levin is indicating that he has a conflict of interest. That means that he cannot participate in the deliberations or the conversations about the matter that's before the commission. His presence here counts for quorum, but he will not be able to vote. So what that means is that for a motion to carry, a majority of votes have to be in favor of the motion. So in this case, it would be 3. So just so everyone's aware of what the rules are going into this this hearing.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we're on public hearing 5.1. Can we read the statement of criteria, please?
Mr. President. This is
Yes,
Commissioner Kopcho.
Commissioner Kopcho.
I have my virtual hand raised. It's easy to miss. I just wanted to declare an ex parte with a family friend who lives in the neighborhood. After I had already reviewed this, reached out and said, "Hey, we got a notification of this." I don't think that's going to be any conflict of interest, but I do want to note that I was contacted.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thomas Kupani, please.
If I could just inquire, did you have any substantive conversation about the matter?
Nope.
Other than they received the notice?
They asked, we received this notice where we plan on submitting something. I said, go ahead and submit it. And they said, is this going to be a conflict? I said, I don't believe so. And that was the extent of the conversation.
Okay, all right. Yeah, with that, you're okay to proceed.
Good, because I think we need the extra person. Okay. So, like I said, we are on public hearing 5.1. Could we read the statement of criteria, please?
This is a public hearing to consider a comprehensive plan change and zone change, case number CPC ZC 21-03 for a property located at 1055 Sherman Drive South. The criteria applicable to this application are found in the Salem Revised Code, SRC, Chapter 64.025 E2 for comprehensive plan map amendments and 265.005 E1 for quasi-judicial zone changes. Failure to raise an issue prior to the close of the public hearing with statements or evidence sufficient to afford the Planning Commission and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony. The Planning Commission will then either continue the public hearing or leave the record open for at least 7 days.
Great, thank you. I believe, Bruce, is the presentation ready?
Is Stephen McAtee is the planner on the case?
Okay, Stephen McAtee, please.
Good evening. Let me share my screen. Are you able to see?
Yes,
I can
Stephen.
see the
Yes,
president.
you're fine. There you go.
All right. Okay.
Oh, Stephen, it was on the correct
Oh,
one.
it was
I
on
don't
the
know
correct
why
one.
it flipped. Yeah, so just do the same thing.
Thank you. There we go. All right. Good evening. My name is Stephen McAtee. I'm a planner with the City of Salem Planning Division. This here is an application for a minor comprehensive plan map amendment and zone change for a 1.87 acre property located at 1055 Sherman Drive South. I'd like to ask that the staff report and all attachments, the supplemental staff report with attachments and comments sent to the commissioners this evening, as well as this presentation, be entered into the record. The request is to change the comp plan map designation from single family to multiple family and the zoning from residential single family to RM2. This would allow approximately 22 to 52 units based on the RM2 density requirements, which are a minimum of 12 and maximum of 28 units per acre. No site plan review has been submitted or other development applications. This is just for the comprehensive plan map amendment and the zone change. This is a overview of the area. The subject property is in orange in the center of the screen. You can see it's east of River Road and west of Crestview Drive South. This is a comprehensive plan map of existing designations. You can see that it's a single family designation and it's bordered to the east by other single family designations, and across Sherman Drive South to the south is additional single family designations. To the north and to the west of the property is a multifamily designation. And this is a zoning map which shows that the property is currently zoned RS, which is single family residential. Also across Sherman and east of the property is a single family residential designation. And then to the west and north is RM2, which is a multiple family zoning designation. This is a kind of a overview, our aerial picture from 2020 showing the property. It's currently developed with a single family residence and then some outbuildings to the back. The multiple family development to the west is shown here, and there's some other multifamily and condo development to the north. Cross River Road is the industrial designation. So just a picture looking at the subject property and the existing structure on the front of the property abutting Sherman. So factors for a comp plan map amendment and zone change. The applicant has presented findings showing that the requested change is equally or better suited as the existing designations. It's consistent with land use patterns with the abutting properties to the west and north as shown in previous slides. And it addresses a shortage of multifamily residential land in the area. There's a 2015 housing needs analysis that identified a deficit in the multifamily designation of about 2,897 dwelling units and about 207 gross acres of residential land. So the applicant's finding indicate that this will contribute to the need for housing in Salem. This is just a collection of the dates that both staff and the applicant sent out public notice through neighborhood meetings, through notification from staff to the neighborhood association, to DLCD, hearing notices, and demonstrating that the applicant and staff have met the requirements for notice on this case. Response, there was no official comments received from the Salem Kaiser School District or the DLCD or Chariots. I reached out to Chariots and they indicated that they don't have plans for transit in the area and they don't have concerns with the proposal. Citizens and the neighborhood association have reached out indicating concerns with noise, traffic, parking, stormwater runoff, response times for hearing notices, and wildlife in the area. Based on the findings presented in the staff report and the supplemental staff report, staff finds that the applicant has met the criteria to approve the request and recommends approval. And this is a broader vicinity of the area, shows all the way east to commercial. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions as they come up.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
Oh, I have one.
I see Commissioner Slater.
Thank you. Could you There were some comments about traffic stacking at a stoplight, or maybe it was a stop sign. Can you point to me on your map where the stoplight or stop signs are in the neighborhood?
Can you see my mouse?
Yep.
Okay. So there was the concern about River Road and Sherman right in here. I think in particular left turns. There's no stoplight there as I understand it, but there is a stop sign. And then I believe others might be able to verify, but I believe there's a stop sign here or as it changes into Crestview. That's all that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions?
May I interject there? This is Bruce Beatty.
I'm sorry, Bruce, but you're only able to speak during your public testimony portion. We can't have any. Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
This is for commissioners. Do any commissioners have any questions? Okay, great. The proponent has 15 minutes to present their case.
Hello, good evening. My name is Charles Weathers. Shelby, do I need to state my address for the record?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I reside at 1865 Church Street Southeast, Salem, Oregon, 97302. Lifelong Salem Kaiser resident. And fun fact, the multifamily project just to the west there on Sherman is where I met my wife. So I'm familiar with the area and has a special place in my heart. Anywho, just want to thank everyone for taking their time. I know this is my dinner time, so I appreciate anybody out there that might be getting hangry. I wanted to thank staff for their clear and concise report, and I wanted to thank Stephen for his help throughout the process. It's been great to work with, answered questions promptly and very helpful. You know, he hit all the nails on the head with the bullet points. You know, we're taking a single family residence with 2 outbuildings on a large lot and looking to request that zone and the comp plan be changed and amended to allow multifamily there for more housing that is needed, as we know, as the housing needs study points to. Beyond that, I have a few other members of my team here that can speak more eloquently about the intricacies. We have Jeff James and perhaps Alan Sorum if needed. That is the majority that I have to say. I just want to turn it over to Jeff and let him tell you better things about it.
Okay, Jeff.
Good evening, Mr. Vice President and Commissioners. Jeff James, and my address is 4115 Fraser Lane Southeast in the Morningside area. Yeah, the proposal, as Stephen outlined, is a zone change and comprehensive plan change to allow our site plan shows 42 units. I believe in a RM2 that would compute to allowing 52, but we don't want to overdo it. So this just depicts 42, fits the site comfortably. The site's just under 2 acres in size. It does have existing trees on all 4 sides, on all 4 boundaries, just inside the property line. At some point, maybe the occupant of the owner maybe have wanted some screening of his property, and those trees now are existing. And from day one, the planning division has kind of mentioned that to us, that it'd be important to work those in, and that's certainly our intent, is to keep those trees. We got a comment from the neighbor or the owner of the apartments to the west that possibly the trees would need some thinning. We're open to that if it makes sense, but this is just a zone change. There's 3 steps to in this process. There's the land use zone change, comprehensive plan change. And then the next step, we'll come in with a more detailed site plan and a design review step where the city looks at the elevations and the architectural styling and that sort of thing. So at that time, there'll be a more definitive plan for the trees, but the intent is to keep them. Yeah, we've got existing apartments on 2 sides, the west and the north. And our site plan indicates locating the apartments, the new apartments, as far west as we can on the site and away from the single family. So it's about 150 feet from these new apartments to the nearest home. And yet these apartments are fairly close to the existing apartments just across the other side of the trees. I do request the Commission adopt the staff report and the supplemental staff report. That just came out, to just looked at it, and the supplemental staff report I agree with, except for I don't think we were looking for a delay on this, because we've everybody, including the cities, followed all the rules. It's been a smooth process. In fact, the neighborhood association with any concerns, all the concerns have come the last 2 days from emails from surrounding neighbors, and we can address that. I think one concern is about putting in a well-engineered storm water system, design system, and we've got West Tech Engineering that'll come up with something over the next 2 phases of this process to solve that. We're going to save the trees. The traffic TPR analysis shows no significant impact, and that's been reviewed by Public Works and the traffic engineer. I think I hope you adopt the staff report. In fact, I like the previous staff report where there was no delay. I'd like to turn it over now to Alan Sorum, who will talk about how everybody, the applicant and the city, followed all the rules, and so I think this should proceed without any delay. The staff is recommending approval of the zone change and the comprehensive plan change, and we agree with the conditions, and so I'd like to introduce Alan now to take it over and summarize our applicant's proposal.
Alan, you have about 9 minutes.
Yeah, my comments are brief. Just on the procedural issue, it was noted there were some unexpected delays, and everybody acknowledged that the notice for the hearing was mailed on the 14th on time, which is 20 days at a minimum prior to the hearing, but that there was some of the residents reported that they did not receive the actual get the mailed notice until last week, longer than is customary, and just wanted to kind of speak onto the record. Staff did a nice job in quickly putting together a supplemental staff report, and there's 2 things I would call to the attention. There's attachment C and D. Attachment C is an affidavit from staff, just clarifying and putting into the record a sworn statement that the mailing did occur on time. So any delays that might have occurred would have been, just in delays in the mailing process themselves, not by the Postal Service, not like when staff mailed it. And then I wanted to speak to the procedural statute. Many of the commissioners have probably heard ORS 197.763 be referenced. There's a subsection in there, and it actually speaks to the question if what happens if a property owner doesn't receive the mailed notice. And as long as staff puts that actual affidavit into the record, then that does not give cause to invalidate a hearing. So certainly, even though everybody's testified that they did receive it, it just was a little bit longer than the customary got it, raising the question, is there a problem? Is there justification to have an additional hearing? And no, there are no legal issues with how staff handled the mailing, and also you have the additional notice with the posting, the multiple attendance by the application team to the neighborhood association meeting. So everything kind of checks out. Staff's supplemental report has a nice summary there of the procedures there, and just wanted to speak on the record and let you know that according to the statutes, the procedural rules, everything was followed. There's no cause for anything for the city to cure. And as applicants have said, it's their strong preference to have the hearing be closed tonight. I would agree with that. There's no reason or procedural right to have two hearings. People are going to be afforded 5 minutes to testify. And, this is not intended to be a specific situation. People can go ahead and raise their concerns. And they've already been addressed in the materials. Most of the concerns, as Jeff had indicated, were really geared toward ensuring that future development does occur according to city engineering standards, site plan review and development standards. Those will of course happen, and the city's well equipped to ensure that through this site plan review, design review, and all of the construction review approval requirements that happen in the future. But this case is just trying to answer the question, what is best for the city as far as the zoning level, that base level, and the applicant has put in more than substantial evidence to justify the zone change. The city housing needs analysis it has been, I want to say it's been accepted but not adopted by the city in recognition that they still don't have the buildable lands needed. The target goal back in 2014 was to have the 20-year land supply for the 2035 needs. We're more than 6 years past when that was done, and through projects like this, the city is slowly chipping away. But people like me, I fear that it's going to take us 20 years to go ahead and get our original 20-year delay and really be significantly out of conformance with goal 10. So staff was right in evaluating that great need as a primary justification for the change. And none of the comments raised the level of having adequate specificity to warrant denial of the application. So that's all the comments I had. Are there any concerns or questions that I can answer regarding the procedural handling?
Well, we got the questions coming up in a second, so you're just giving your presentation. Is that it for you guys? Okay, great. Thank you. I believe, and I might be missing this, are we going to questions of the proponent by staff?
Yep, questions for the applicant by commissioners.
Great. Questions for the applicant, commissioners? I don't see any hands. Okay, then we're going to neighborhood organizations. I don't have any listed. So then we'll go to everyone else. So I have on our list, I have Betty Markey. Are you here, Mrs. Markey?
I'm here. And
great, you have 5 minutes. Can we give your name and address, please? Hi.
My name is Betty Markey, and I reside at 2590 Crestview Drive South. My husband, Don Herman, who is also testifying, we've been residents in the neighborhood for 31 years and have witnessed quite a bit of growth and changes to our neighborhood during that time period. So today, in speaking about the proposal for 1055 Sherman Drive, I want to bring up what has already been stated about the delay in the residents receiving information or the public notification until July 27th, which in fact was verified by several people who participate in the US Postal Service informed delivery. So we know that the notices did not get received until then, which was probably about 11 days after you would normally expect it. And it appears that due to this unfortunate glitch, the residents were the last people who were invited to the table and been provided the least amount of time to provide input on the zone change. And yet we are the ones who will be most affected by this future development. So what we're asking at this point is we're requesting the Planning Commission not to make a decision tonight on the zone change. We request up to a 3-week open record period, and we ask that the hearing be continued during that time. And we don't wish to impede progress on the proposal. We ask for this extension because we want to make up for the delay in delivery of the letter. It will give residents in the neighborhood an opportunity to actually do a thorough review of the application and proposal and identify any concerns or suggestions they may have for the project. It also provides time for conversations between us, the owner, the developer, the architect, representatives of a representative group of our neighbors, perhaps city staff and a neighborhood association, to discuss a few options for other types of housing on the parcel that would be moderately dense and perhaps a better transition for the neighborhood. And one of these options might require the zone to remain single family, while the other would require a zone change to the residential multifamily. And that's why we ask you not to make a decision on the zone change tonight, but consider this request for an open record period and a continuation of the hearing for the same time period. It would give us an opportunity to just present our options, other options to the applicants. So thank you for this opportunity to provide comment. And do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions of Mrs. Markey? I don't see any hands. Okay, Dawn Herman, you have 5 minutes and name and address, please.
Excuse me. The what? Hi, I'm Don. As Betty mentioned, we've lived here for 31 years. A slight correction at the moment about that stop sign.
Could I get the address
It's a
for you
stop
one more
sign
time?
that-
I'm sorry.
Pardon?
Don, can I get your address one more time? Your address one more time, I'm sorry.
2590.
They want us.
Drive.
They,
Yeah. The stop sign that was mentioned before, it's just from the direction from the north coming onto Crestview Drive. It doesn't impede traffic coming up the hill or down the hill.
There isn't a stop sign.
Sorry. That stop sign, like as I mentioned, is just to stop the traffic coming from the north side of the Crestview Drive. Okay, we understand that there's a shortage of the available land for the anticipated additional housing in the city, and that this 1.87 acres is underutilized with just one single family home. But we agree with that. We know that the city would like to see these types of properties developed in a manner that provides for additional housing to meet the needs. But is this the highest and best use? Certainly there are other options, and we don't necessarily agree that the owner's proposal is pertinent for this situation. We think there are other options. Infill parcels within established neighborhoods, we think, should provide moderate density versus high density. We're going from 2 apartment complexes that are much less dense, and then creating a situation where we have a very dense population up against a single family residential area. Something that there are other things that might provide more homogeneous type of transition into our neighborhood. I don't know. I think that, well, perhaps I should say it this way: high density is better suited for areas near arterials, commercial and retail hubs, and downtown core areas. With that said, other options exist that should be considered when provide a compromise from the higher density requested and the desires of this neighborhood. Suggestions that we like to that we would like the developer and the planning commission to seriously consider before its final decision is made are as follows. As an example, retain the zoning as single family residential and develop the property into something similar to like a cluster community. There's a really great example at the very west end of Rural Street in South Salem. According to the developer, that project is on a 1.3 acre parcel and was developed around 2008. It contains 13 two-story adequately sized family homes with garages, a central green space, and a community building, and has maintained a stable occupancy since it was built, or since it became stabilized. This could provide a good transition of the subject property from the existing multifamily apartments and thus blending into the neighborhood. A second option of a moderate density would be to develop the property into multifamily units with a similar or slightly greater density than the existing apartment complex adjacent to the subject property. That project provides 28 units on equivalent size and on an equivalent sized acreage of 1.779 acres.
You have about a minute left.
Fewer units would allow for more livable green space and community for families residing there, and may result in less turnover. In addition to the statement on the proposed phase 1, other concerns that we have were identified to date and included in our written proposal. That's all I have.
Oh, okay, great. Any questions of Mr. Herman by the commissioners? I do not see hands. All right, thank you, Mr. Herman.
Good.
Next, we have Linda Strike. Could I get your name and address, please, for the record?
Whoops. It's Linda Strike, 2610 Crestview Drive South. And as with the Hermans, I've been here over 30 years. And as they mentioned, we've seen a lot of change. And I would like to say that we've had a lot of talk about, the traffic. They said that the traffic review said it wasn't a significant impact. I don't think that the traffic itself is, like they're stacked up at the intersection. That is a problem. That corner onto River Road is a serious safety concern. The other stop sign that was being addressed is the one at the top of Crestview, where Crestview and Hanson meet. And there's a grade school right on that corner. And it's, a safety concern. And I guess that's where I'm coming from, is the safety. There is a blind corner just west of this property where traffic comes around there really fast coming up the hill. If they were coming the right speed and staying in their own lane, it wouldn't be as much of a problem, but that is not the case. And so you have, 63 potential additional vehicles based on what the folks are proposing. And that is, we are already having problems with safety. And that also means pedestrian safety, children, they're either waiting for the bus, or if they're walking, they have to cross the street to get to the sidewalk because there's only sidewalk. There's a small section at the bottom of Sherman, but the rest of it, sidewalk, is only on the east side. And so we have to consider that as well. I would imagine Salem Kaiser, this is their time of year where most of their folks are off. So I don't know why they didn't comment. But safety is a huge thing. My house faces Crestview on the east side, and I have had multiple instances where cars have come down Crestview so fast, they have jumped the curb, they took out our multiple mailbox, they have hit the retaining wall in front of my building, in front of my house. And so for me, it's a huge, huge safety issue. I've just seen an increase in safety concerns over time. And the other thing is that we are just up the hill from Mento Brown. And as was mentioned before, we have, this is kind of an extension of Mento. I have deer, wild turkeys. I mean, we have a really dense population of wildlife, and traffic, is a problem with that. And it is also a problem with, creating more density and more cars. And so
You have
like
about
I
a
said,
minute left.
okay. From my perspective, I don't think that it has the safety of the neighborhood has adequately been addressed. And I also would like to say, I know that they mailed things on time, but we did not get the information, and I believe we deserve the opportunity, no matter what reason that we didn't get it on time, to have more time to really review and have conversation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners for Mrs. Strike? I don't see any hands. Okay, great. The last one I have is Bruce Theed. Can I get your name and address? You have 5 minutes, Bruce.
Hi, my name is Bruce Theedy. My wife and I live on the corner of Sherman and Crestview, 1020 Sherman. And we've lived here for just over 30 years. Back when the street was very unimproved, and walking on the street, you were taking your life in your hands. They did improve the street, I think in 2000, right around 2000, for the sole purpose of getting kids to the neighborhood school, which all three of our kids went to Candelaria. So we just have a history in the neighborhood. We want to see, obviously this property, no one wants to see it stay as is, because it's sad to see it go into such neglect and disrepair over the years. It has an interesting place in Salem history with the beginning of super products and of Young Life, right, started in that house. So in fact, my wife and I both attended Young Life meetings there in our high school years, way back. And so I think our main concern is just the aesthetic of and the density increase in a 52 unit apartment building being placed just right across the street from our house. We're known as the Little Red House on the corner. And so this neighborhood has a very unique aesthetic. It has houses from the 20s, 30s, 40s. Our house was built in 1928. And a lot of the houses in this area are from that similar time frame. And it just, again, going back to safety, the kids walking up through the neighborhood have to cross in front of our house as they cross Crestview, getting from the sidewalk portion of the street to the other side. And there are no crosswalks, and you're looking three directions to avoid traffic coming from the north side of Crestview, the south of Crestview, coming down the hill, and then coming up Sherman. And no traffic control device there. There's no stop sign with a right turn only type of approach on the corner. So my house has an upper driveway on Crestview and a lower driveway on Sherman. And having lived here for 30 years, we just have seen an awful lot of close calls in front of our house and quite a few actual accidents. And especially down when it comes to adding more traffic going on to and coming off of South River Road. The speed of the traffic on South River Road, both crossing over to get up this hill and then getting onto it, is a concern, and adding additional traffic would just make it that much worse. The walking the streets, again, no crosswalks in front of our house going across to the sidewalk on the other side. And kids, again, we watch them go to school every day, and crossing that really busy section of Crestview, coming down the hill and going up Sherman is dangerous, quite frankly, for the kids. And so we're just hoping in this process that something in the site plan would address, I guess it wouldn't be the site plan, but it would be the traffic study, would address safety issues with both pedestrian and traffic concerns. The other concern that I think would be parking. And it seems, in looking at other developments around Salem, that parking is always an issue with apartments. The amount of spaces allocated per door is rarely enough. And so the overflow parking ends up in the neighborhoods surrounding the apartments. And
you have about a minute left.
It creates tension with the neighbors, which we don't want. Again, I don't think anybody wants the property to stay as is. But the density, I think, is an issue with both traffic, safety of pedestrians and additional traffic, and with parking. And so, and the aesthetic of what is put there. So Don's proposal, or Don's idea of clustered cottages or higher density housing, single family housing, I think is an excellent idea, and I would echo that. And I think that's all I have to say.
Okay, great. Any questions from commissioners? And I don't see any hands. Thank you very much, sir. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I believe we have the rebuttal by the applicant. We have 5 minutes for that. Mr. James, or?
Yeah, I'll start.
I
hear the concerns. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I hear the concerns about the notice, and it's unfortunate about the post office. We did, both Jeff and I attended the Swan Neighborhood Association on May 4th and presented, and then came back on June 8th because we didn't have enough time to discuss everything on that first meeting. And then also the notice was sent to the Neighborhood Association on July 9th, as well as the sign was posted on the property on July 20th. So I mean, we made our best good faith effort to let people know far in advance. Just want to point that out for the record, as well as the last comment there about parking. You know, we do have a 1.5 to 1 ratio per door, but if you break it down per bedroom, it's almost exactly a 1 to 1. So unless folks are really shacking up, it does seem that there would be adequate parking on site, at least as best can be assumed. That's all I have, Jeff.
Yeah, and nothing much to add. The parking is slightly over what the code requires. We're at 1.5 spaces per unit. We have about half the units are 1 bedroom, which only requires 1 space per unit, so we're over code. We talked about the stormwater concerns, that'll be addressed by by West Tech Engineering in their design of the system. So that will be solved. We're keeping the trees. We are taking note of the advice of the neighbor that maybe the trees need to be thinned or looked at and the condition examined. So we'll do that. The traffic report shows low impact. And I think somebody mentioned we have 52 units. We only have 42. So we're well under the what this zone would allow. So we think it's a good solution, and I don't have anything really to rebut what has been said. So, Alan?
Okay.
Yeah, I think we were able to address, you know, the delays in mailing. I can just comment as an attorney. I still have to deal with a lot of notices getting mailed back and forth. This isn't the first time this year during COVID that there's been unexpected delays in mailing. I'm thankful that it was received by the property owners. I've been involved in cases where they weren't. So this is far from worst case scenario to have, you know, an additional week associated with the mailing time period when it would be customary. And a couple other comments just on the transportation system plan. Both of this property on Sherman is a collector street. River Road is a minor arterial. This is the kind of the same extension of the underlying zoning as with the neighboring multifamily properties. So while the applicant had a concept of design for a specific project, that's not the one that's before the Planning Commission. And so the scope is really, on traffic analysis, does the transportation system plan have, is the classification going to be changed both currently with the proposed zone change or in the end of the time horizon? And that was part of the original transportation planning report that was reviewed by City of Salem traffic engineers, and they both concluded that no, there would not be a significant effect, which means that the functional classification and the existing improvements will be okay and operating at or above standard, both currently with the proposal and within the 20-year planning horizon. So that's
About
kind
a
of
minute left.
the analysis that happens.
Oh, sorry. Okay, was that it?
Yep, that's it.
Great. Okay. Questions. I believe we'll go back to questions of the proponents. I have some hands. Am I right on this? If
Yes.
so, Commissioner Slater.
Thank you. Would any of you speak to just any street improvements that you'll be making as part of this development?
Mike, no off-street improvements have been requested by Public Works. So all the improvements are on site.
Are already there.
Yeah, 24-foot private driveway, standard parking spaces, and it's basically a row of parking on the east side, which allows the apartments to be as far away as possible from the existing single family to the east.
I guess I made. Are you doing a half street improvement, or is your side of the street, the development side of the street, already to standard?
It's already to standard at this point.
Okay.
We have a huge setback off the street, a special setback of 30 feet required by the transportation plan, and then another 20 feet by the zone code. So total of 50 feet. So the units are going to be set way back behind the trees and away from the street. I don't believe there's any improvements required by Public Works to the street itself at this point.
Gotcha. Okay.
Can I interject on that, Commissioner Slater?
Yes.
Just a little. So at the time you're reviewing the comprehensive plan change and zone change was just as the zoning, changing the colors of the map on the proposal. So we haven't reviewed a development proposal. So I don't know that Jeffrey could really speak to what's going to be required at development because we haven't reviewed a development proposal. So at this point, there will be another process that they'll have to go through for multifamily design review if this is approved and allows that use. So at this time, the development standards will be reviewed at that point.
Okay, I jumped ahead. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? I don't see any. Okay. Do the commissioners have questions for staff? I believe would be next. Casey Copcho, Commissioner Copcho.
Yes, thank you, Brian, Commissioner McKinley. I have a question for our attorney representative, if I may. With a request to leave the hearing open, are we required to do that?
We believe so. We think that under SRC 390-970, when there's a request at the first evidentiary hearing, then the record can be held open or the hearing can be continued. Now you have a choice between those two options, but if somebody's making that request, then you're obliged to meet it. Mr. Sorum is right. From a legal perspective, the notice was adequate, but obviously there was a fly in the ointment. And so one of the things that we're striving to do is making sure that people feel like they have gotten a fair opportunity, and if they have requested in a timely fashion some more time, then it's appropriate that be allowed.
And follow up, if I may.
Sure.
The time duration by which we then proceed, is that 7-day minimum, or is it just until the next hearing?
I'm going to let Olivia, she's a master at the timing.
So I think that the code will say 7 days. In general, you don't meet in 7 days. So you can continue the hearing. You have a meeting on August 17th. It's a pretty full agenda. That would mean not closing the public hearing and then allowing the public hearing to be continued. In the past, the Planning Commission has chosen to do what we call like 777, an open record period. And when you close the hearing and you allow 7 days for written testimony to be provided by anybody, 7 days for people who provide that written testimony to rebut that written testimony, and then a last 7 days for the applicant to have final written rebuttal. And then you would return at your next meeting after that for deliberations and a decision at that point. And that would be September 7th. I think the Planning Commission may like that idea because your August 17th agenda is really full, and you're also here on the 16th for a work session. And then I think that would meet the intent of 300 while also giving people who may not have been able to participate on Zoom the ability to provide written comments.
Thank you for the detailed answer, as always, Olivia. One more follow-up with the 777. Would that require closing the public hearing to allow then the admittance of written testimony and not public?
That's generally how it's been done in the past. So you would close the public hearing, so no verbal testimony would be taken at your deliberations. You would just deliberate on that next meeting.
Fantastic. No further questions. Thanks.
Great. Any further questions of staff? Okay, if not, there is a request to leave the record open. So I need some assistance in how we go through this. And that would be, who would be able to help me with that? Do we need a motion?
I think you need a motion.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have a motion on that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Casey.
No. All right, I'll do it. So I would move that we close the public hearing to oral testimony, leaving the record open for written testimony for 7 days with a 7-day period after that for us to get back together for staff to review, and then 7 days for the applicant rebuttal.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, second by, I'm sorry, who was that?
That was Lisa.
Heller?
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Heller. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could we please call the roll?
I'm just going to clarify the motion into the record here. Move to close the hearing and leave the record open for new testimony until August 10th at 5 p.m. with rebuttal until August 17th at 5 p.m. and final rebuttal by the applicant by August 24th at 5 p.m.
And then also deliberations on September 7th.
Correct. Vote here, Commissioner Heller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kopcho.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin is abstaining, but I was going to call him to let him say that, but Commissioner.
Abstaining?
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner McKinley. Commissioner McKinley.
Aye. Commissioner
Slater.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, great. So I think that's it then, right? Are we?
I have a little bit of information on the planning administrator report if you want to hear it.
Oh, okay. So I just want to, for everyone who's listening, that's the end of that one. We are done with this for this part of it. So yes, The next thing would be the planning administrator's report, please.
Yeah, good evening, commissioners. I'm Olivia Diaz, your current planning manager. We've met before. Lisa is on vacation, lucky her. So I just wanted to touch base to make sure. So there is a work session on the 16th, which is a special meeting for the UDC updates. And then you have your regularly scheduled planning commission meeting on the 17th, which you have a couple cases on there for that. And then I know Lisa had talked in the past about maybe going back to in-person meetings. I don't see that happening in the near future. City Council has chosen not to go back to back in person or to do hybrid at this point. We will keep you posted as things develop. Things are changing and moving pretty quickly, it seems like, around here. So at this point, we will stay virtual, I believe, until probably past September would be my guess. I know council is trying to do their next meeting hybrid, and that has not come to fruition. The other thing I would want to talk about is you will have on the 17th also a resolution or an order and findings to vote on, which is a little different than normal from the case that you heard at your last meeting. We've sent out some communications. I just want to make sure everyone understands, but there was some testimony provided that was new evidence in the final written rebuttal of the applicant. And so the people who have participated in the hearing were given the opportunity to rebut that new evidence. And all of that will be gathered, and then the applicant will have, again, final written rebuttal in writing, and we will forward all of that with a little brief explanation staff report to also, you will be voting on the findings and the order. So it's not looking at the entire decision, it's looking at, is that the decision that you made and consistent with what the decision you guys made at the July 20th planning commission meeting. It's been a roller coaster. So if you have any questions, it's very confusing. I am happy to try to answer them.
Okay, great. Any questions?
I have a quick
See any hands?
Yep.
Oh, Commissioner Slater, please.
No surprise. So Olivia, is there any progress in talking with the folks over at the home developers about the tree issues?
For the UDC updates?
Yes, I should have been more specific. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I think that Lisa was in communication with the Home Builders Association. I know Bryce is still working on on fleshing some of that stuff out. I haven't heard that things have changed, that the direction has changed any.
Okay.
But that I haven't. That's all I know at this point. I don't know that any. I know Bryce is feverishly working on his computer on trying to get you guys stuff for Monday, but I haven't heard any change on the trees.
All right. Well, we wish Bryce luck.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions or anything? Okay, any commissioners' comments for the good of the order?
I have a question for you, President McKinley.
Yes.
Flags?
Yes.
What's the update?
What about them? Oh, camp is coming up, and they're going to have the final judgment at camp on the 16th. If you want to come, I will send out an invitation. You can come watch and see what happens. And then after we do that, the campers are... Sorry. Okay. No, that's okay. Then after that, the campers are going to vote on one, and I'm going to put the judge's decision and the campers' decision together, send it to NAVA, the North American Vexillological Association. They will pick one. And then we will send all those choices to City Council, and they can do with or not with what they wish. Does that answer your question?
I have one follow-up. What is the expected turnaround of that process?
It will be done on my end by the 22nd. Then council will, take whatever time they want.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I know to getting it to council. So I don't know how how quick the Vexillological Association works.
Oh, sure. It might take a few weeks. So I would say by the middle of September-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to potentially a new flag. So
awesome. I am too. Commissioner Levine.
Thank you, sir. I too am looking forward to a new flag. I just wanted to state that coming up during our next hearing that I will be on vacation. I have talked with staff about it. I intend on participating in the joint work session on the 16th, and will try my hardest to be at the meeting on the 17th, although I was just looking it up, 3 hours ahead as far as time zone. I'll leave it to you to figure out where we're going based on those parameters. I may not make the 17th, but I will give notice to staff well in advance if I don't think we're going to make it, or if I won't be available. But I do plan on participating in that 16th work session.
Okay, great. Any other good of the order? If not, I call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.